Hello and welcome to the first Let's Get Mental podcast. My name is Archie and I am going to be your host for today. Joining me is the awesome Bri and the delightful Ollie. Say hello, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
So what you probably just watched is a small introduction to the Young Advisors group, a little video about us giving an introduction about why we joined the Young Advisors and a little bit about ourselves. This first podcast you're listening to is going to be an informative one, a bit of an introduction, giving you information about the Young Advisors and a little bit about each of the about these podcasts and about these podcasts and why we're doing them. So with all that out of the way, our first talking point is how exciting! Our first talking point is who are the Young Advisors? Would anyone like to start? If not, it's absolutely fine. So. The Young Advisors were formed in 2017 in October. We're mainly based in the Midlands at the moment, but in my opinion, I think we were formed because the NHS was really lacking sort of young people's input into mental health services that involved young people. For example, a lot of young people and children were using mental health services and weren't really being involved in the sort of deciding and designing of those sort of practices. So we've sort of been a group that's being made to actually put input into those services and educate people when those services are being created. This is the thing, we all have quite a bit of experience. We all have different backgrounds. Some of us have background with family members. Some of us have our own experiences. Me personally, my brother was somebody who's had quite severe mental health issues. I haven't personally, but he has, and it's taught me a lot. Since joining the Young Advisors group, I've learned a great deal about mental health, and I don't think I would have if I hadn't have joined. What about you guys?
Do you want to go first, Brian?
Absolutely.
No, you can go. You want?
Okay. Just adding on to that good introduction from Archie there. We are a subgroup within Associate Development Solutions, and our area, being the Young Advisors, is we work alongside sort of organisations such as the NHS, NHS England, and is it Health Education England and similar organisations to try and, for some instances, offer the voice of the young person, or for some instances, maybe deliver training using our own experience. Sort of, we're coming in from the position of expert by experience. So, for example, people who have had inpatient experience, people who've had experience firsthand with the services, and then able to share this with future workers, for example, training up future mental health workers, such as clinical practitioners, or informing higher up members of the NHS when forming and commissioning different groups as to what's useful. Did you want to explain a bit more as to what participation is in and of itself, Bri?
So participation is basically collaborating with service users in the sense of mental health. It's collaborating with service users in order to ensure that everything is sort of co-produced and just to make sure that the service users get the best out of the service. So in our situation, I kind of see us as that next step up from local participation groups. So I think a lot of us had previous participation experience. Some of us did, some of us didn't. So for example, me, I was part of a CAMS young participation group. And that's where I got my kind of first dip my toe into participation. And the Young Advisors, I'd say, are a next step up from that. We really champion participation across the whole of the Midlands, and we are kind of supporting those smaller participation groups to ensure that participation is everywhere that it should be.
That's really good. I think that's mainly what we drive for. We drive to sort of spread participation and get these sort of these professionals in the NHS to sort of heat our opinions and sort of get our experience as young people with mental health issues and problems and family and members to sort of take our opinions, our words, and actually implement them into their practices. But our young advisors group now has been going for how long have we been going for? 4 years now, is it? That we've been.
It's just coming up to 3 years now.
Just coming up to 3 years now. We've had quite a bit of we've had a few people join. We've had a few people leave. I believe it was in 2019 that we had some new members join because we had quite a few leaving. That was understandable. I mean, a lot of young advisors that we had joined when we first started, things like university come up, jobs obviously job offers come up obviously, and people can go and change, life directions change, which is absolutely fine. But a lot of us OG ones have stuck it out and have stayed, obviously. But I guess the other thing that obviously we do as young advisors is that we do quite a lot of things for so I mean, like things we sort of offer and do. So I mean, one of the things that we did obviously was a Let's Get Mental conference that we held in I think we did 2018 and 2019, didn't we? Where we bring basically a bunch of young people, NHS professionals together in one place where they can talk about their experiences, share opinions and such. We also have a lot of workshops going on on that day, and it's just a great learning experience for everybody. I mean, obviously you guys have done the Let's Get Mental conference. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, so I just, sorry to correct you, actually. Our first one was actually in 2019, and then we had...
No, it's absolutely fine.
The start of 2020 feels so long ago that we did our second one in 2020. And I think, so like Archie said, we had some new young advisors join midway. It was summer 2019, I think we recruited them. So for our first conference, it was very new. Nobody knew quite what was going on. And by that point, I think there was only actually about 7 or 8 young advisors that were consistently turning up to things, because for a lot of the other young advisors, life got in the way, which is perfectly fine. But then when we recruited the new young advisors, going on to the second Let's Get Mental conference, it was just a phenomenal thing to be a part of, because we'd had all these new young fresh people coming into the group, and it really kind of changed the dynamic for the good, in a good way, and it meant that we had so many new ideas going into the second Let's Get Mental conference, and everybody said that they loved the first one, but that the second one just raised the bar even higher. So hopefully if one goes ahead next year, we'll be doing the same again.
And that's sort of partly the things that we've done. I mean, we as young advisors, there's quite a few things we do. We go to universities, schools, and do presentations. I mean, I think, what was the one that me and you, Ollie, did at that school? I can't for the life of me remember what we did. Do you remember the one that we did at that school?
I think I've been to a few different ones now. I know we've done presentations sort of on the varying mental health requirements of different minority or protected characteristic groups, but I think you might be thinking about the training the trainer one potentially.
Yes, I think that might have been the one I was talking about, but that's just one of many that we do. We do equality and diversity we've done at schools. Another completely separate, obviously, I've been on a panel that's involved the recruitment of mental health medical practitioners, which is basically a role that includes bringing, sort of looking out for anxiety and disabilities in children and educating teachers and such. But there's quite a lot of few varied things that we do in the young advisors, and we'll talk a little bit more about those things later on in the podcast. But I guess the next thing that I want us to talk about, obviously, is why are we doing these podcasts? Why are we doing them? I mean, we could, as young advisors, we're quite capable of doing these things without podcasts. So why have we decided to make a YouTube channel or an Anchor account and actually put these things out? So, I mean, for me personally, I think it's just good to get our voices out there. I mean, with the whole lockdown thing that's happened, I mean, communication has obviously been quite a big thing to do online now. And I think as a group have decided that actually getting our voices out and helping people in whatever way we can is a really good way to do it. And obviously podcasts are a great way to do that as well. Obviously we want to do a wide range of topics on this. I mean, we're probably going to have ones that cover things that are maybe going up in the news. So things like obviously coming out of lockdown, how that could be affecting your mental health. other ones, such as maybe just talking about certain subjects. So, for example, we might talk about mental health and well-being, so how you can look after yourself and things you can do to help your well-being. Many other things there. I mean, we can talk about disabilities that people might have and how that we can help them. But that's the sort of gist of how I feel about what these podcasts are. I don't know if you guys want to contribute what you think these podcasts should be, or what they are.
Yeah, so I think a podcast has been something that's been mentioned for quite a while. I think it was Harry, one of our young advisors, brought it up as an idea probably about a year and a half ago. And we all kind of thought, oh, that would be good. But the logistics of it at the time just seemed too much to even handle. But like you say, Archie, over the past couple of months, everything has become digital. Everything has become something that we never expected it to be, and our role has had to adapt to that. And I think that's where we really thought, okay, doing something like a podcast would be really useful. And then I feel like the coming out of lockdown campaign that we did over the summer kind of kick-started the idea of putting together some discussions about different topics, and that particularly was a few videos about coming out of lockdown and how that can affect different things such as school life or your job and things like that. And yeah, that really kick-started the idea that a podcast could actually work and that we could actually do it and make it useful to people.
I guess.
I think.
No, you go ahead.
And as the name would suggest, with Let's Get Mental, I think not only inspired by sort of the title of our past conferences, 2019 Let's Get Mental and 2020, was it Let's Get Mental again on the subject of mental health and the environment of the school and educational practices. But it's sort of looking at bringing mental health as a topic, as something that affects and is involved, very integral to everyone's life, and bring that into the limelight a bit more. I know, like has been mentioned, we're potentially aiming to maybe debunk myths around different mental health conditions or maybe different therapies people might access with it, and try and sort of shine a light on something that lots of people probably are aware of, but maybe not to the fullest extent, or to try and maybe raise a bit more awareness about mental health, how people are affected, and offer up some personal experiences individuals have maybe interacting with services, or maybe just how people have been affected by day-to-day living. For example, as has been very omnipresent over the past few months of lockdown and its impact on the world, and trying to see sort of how, when looking at something through the lens of mental health and aspects of mental health, you can see and understand the world differently, and how it can be a very useful tool for everyone to have and to everyone to be aware of. As the phrase goes, everyone has some degree of mental health as well as their physical health. So it's something that should be talked about and not hidden in the dark as a taboo, as it has been in the past.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as a group...
Don't worry, mine's barking as well, so it's absolutely fine.
Yeah, definitely. As a group, I think we're quite open, honest, sort of willing to talk about anything really, and that's come with our experience and our finding our feet as an established group and realizing people actually do want to hear what we've got to say. So I think having this kind of discussion podcast about different things, sharing our own experiences, talking just openly about the realities of some of the things that we've been through or seen other people go through, or that people in general go through, that everyone goes through but most people don't talk about. We're those ones that we're willing to talk about. We're willing to make it a normal conversation where other people maybe, like you say, find it too taboo or whatever you want to say.
I think,
and it's sort of before. Have I got a crap connection?
I think it sounds all right now. Go ahead.
And I think, as Bri was saying, sort of, it can be useful for potentially a young person who maybe has first realised that they have been suffering with a mental illness or have been feeling lower or different to usual, and to sort of try not just show that it's okay, but to sort of show how it has been for other people, how they might try and find their ways of getting through it, trying to help understand themselves. And then potentially, if you're looking at it from the angle of a parent or a carer or caregiver, maybe looking at how they can sort of empathize and understand this position a bit more and know what they're going through. Or maybe for a professional, just to sort of stay focused, especially for people working in children's and adolescent mental health services, or for working with young and even young adults, sort of understanding how they might see the world, how it might affect them, and being aware of sort of their own personal context and how someone who's 25 is going to be affected in a significantly different way to someone who's 65. And just to sort of try and keep this in mind, and hopefully it'll be a useful tool for anyone and everyone.
I think those are both really good points, and I think one point that I really did like that you get there is that this podcast isn't for, you know, for maybe just professionals or adults and young people. It's for everybody. So like you said, you could be a young person who's a bit insecure, maybe doesn't want to talk, you know, maybe finds it very hard to talk about certain mental health issues that you might have. These podcasts are here for you to hear our experiences, our opinions on such. We have quite a wide group of people in our young advisors, and we've got a lot of people with different experiences. So obviously, if there are subjects that you would like us to talk about, I mean, we've got a bunch of people that obviously one of us most likely would have had some experience in that area, or would know somebody about that, or know something about that area. But on the other side, the flip side again, professionals, if you're somebody who works with children, young people, and you can't ever find the right time to talk to somebody to actually pick their brain maybe and actually hear their opinions such, this is another reason why these podcasts are here. They're actually for you to hear our opinions yet again. As I say, subjects that maybe you feel as a profession you can't ask young people, because I say you've got your job on the line, you might feel that it's a wrong thing to do. So always, you know, once again, asking us is another thing you can do. We'll talk about it on here. We'll get people that have had experience maybe in that area and can obviously share their opinions on it again. So I guess the other thing that we want to talk about as well on this podcast is what we offer and how you can get involved. So what as young advisors do we, you know, what can we offer people who might be looking at it? You might be a professional, you might be a teacher, you might be somebody who works at a university, and you might be wondering, what can we actually offer you? So things that we can actually offer for you is actually work packages. So these are things that you can do by contacting us, our young advisors group. I believe you can do that by the website, or you can email us. That probably most likely will be in the description if you do want to obviously contact us doing that. But obviously things that we do offer is we offer, so the different work packages, I can't off the top of my head remember many of the work packages that we do offer, but I know we offer participation work packages. So obviously we talk about how to include participation into your workforce. Another one is equality and diversity. So maybe you might want to educate maybe your staff or somebody about equality and diversity in your workplace, and that's obviously something that we can come in and talk as young people. Anyone else want to share what else we do offer?
I know me and Ollie have actually worked on an LGBTQ plus and mental health needs work package quite in depth really. We've done anything from day-long sessions, which we've delivered both in person and on Zoom, you know, throughout lockdown. And we've also delivered just like half an hour to an hour sessions when needed. But I think the main thing is that if you reach out to us with your needs, even if it's not a work package we've already got really in depth, we can definitely put something together. We started the LGBTQ plus work package with nothing, and we were approached and said, do you want to come talk about something? And we decided that would be a great topic to go with. I think that was for a London conference when we first presented that. And we started from nothing. We gathered, you know, the relevant people and relevant experiences. We did quite a bit of research, put a bit of theory in there to make sure that we were teaching good quality content. But yeah, as I say, even if we haven't got the work package already made, we can put something together between the team, and we can find the people with the relevant experience and who want to come and help deliver that. But even if we don't have people with relevant experience, like I say, we're quite good at doing some research and finding things out. And we've also got a lot of contacts ourselves. We are young people. We go to universities, we go to school, we're doing our A-levels, we work with other young people. We are able to put things together, talking to the people who are, do have first-hand experience, even if that's not within the team. We have different means of putting content together to make sure that we're delivering stuff that's representative for all young people and not just ourselves. But anything to add, Ollie?
Yes, really well. Oh, for goodness sake, I've got the echo again.
It's all right.
Oh, wait. Yes, thanks, Bri. Really well said. Going on from that, in addition to these work packages, which I think, as Bryce said, lasting anywhere from an hour to a day, workshop or presentational based, from professional audiences to working with young people or in schools. We've also been involved and are happy to get involved in sort of staff recruitment and selection. So, for example, I know I think all three of us have actually been on interview panels to sort of hire and pick out the most appropriate trainee clinicians working in child and adolescent mental health services. So, for example, the new role of the education and mental health practitioner, to make sure that the view of the young person's taken in. So not only have you got someone who is up to date on the theory and well knowledged on the subject, but you have someone who is personable, suitable for young people, and we could see being a good fit to an educational or mental health environment. In addition to sort of being on these panels ourselves, we're also able to deliver training to other participation groups, for example, or maybe to schools in order to sort of empower other young people to feel equipped with the knowledge of being able to then sit on a recruitment panel themselves. So, for example, maybe reaching out to a school council or a school youth group to be able to train them to be in the position where, if they wanted to sit on an interview panel for a new member of staff, a school counsellor, a teacher, or whatever, that they'd be able to feel equipped and confident in the knowledge that they know the questions to ask, what to look out for, and other things to be aware of within the recruitment process and how it works.
So, obviously, other things we offer as well is that obviously with this channel, we want to obviously make it quite a social thing. We want to obviously be interacting with people who are watching these as much as possible. So, if you want to get involved with the podcasts, obviously leave a comment down below. So if there's a subject you want us to talk about, is there something that you, as a viewer, maybe want us to discuss, or maybe some other young advisors might come on and discuss, obviously put your thoughts down below. Obviously give us feedback as well. We're always looking for feedbacks on these podcasts, so that would be great if you could also put that down below. One other thing, obviously, very important that you should look out for is obviously Q&As that we will be doing on this channel as well. So if you have questions that you want to ask us, we might have separate videos or podcasts dedicated to actually looking at those questions and answering and giving opinions and people's experiences and sharing those on those questions. But I guess we're going to be moving on to a bit of our final thoughts here. Really, we're tying this up now. I guess, does anyone have an idea what our next podcast might be about?
So we've got a couple of ideas in the pipeline, but we're thinking about doing something that's relevant to modern life. So whether that's something to do with perhaps A-levels and GCSEs being released, and the pressure around that, or whether it's to do with sort of the notion of coming, what we nicknamed in and out of lockdown, and whether there will be a second wave and how we feel about that, how that can affect mental health, things like that. So there's a couple of ideas in the pipeline, but I guess you'll have to come back and check the channel to see what our next podcast should be. But hopefully we can get some of the other young advisors involved, so you get to meet some more people. I mean, watch this space.
Another thing, obviously, that we would like to do possibly in the future as well on these podcasts is actually get maybe other people involved in them, maybe guest speakers to come on and talk to us as well. So once again, if there's anybody that you think would be great to come on and actually give it a talk to us and, talk about mental health, obviously, once again, leave your comments down below. And as Brian just said, obviously our next podcasts are probably going to be something maybe to do with what's going on right now, relevant in the world. So obviously, like I say, lockdown coming out, or will we be going into a second lockdown? obviously, another thing, we've got to obviously plug ourselves here, you know, our social. So if you do, once again, want to obviously get in touch with us, there will be our email, our social. I think we've got our Instagram down there. Our Facebook will also be in the description as well. So if you obviously want to talk to us or chat there, you can. Our website is obviously where you can learn a little bit more about who we are. And obviously you can look at what we offer as well there. But is there anything anyone else wants to add?
I think just to wrap it off, isn't it? We wanted to sort of try and end things with something to make people think. And the quote today, I can't find a full author title to credit, but it's Aringatok. Is it arinvingatok.com, which was around our participation sort of focus for this podcast, which is life doesn't just happen. It requires our participation, which is something we thought was quite relevant to today's one, being that participation from people being involved in things is essential to move forward, to move onwards, and for anything to really work as well as it can.
So, I think we'll round it up there. I've been your host, Archie. Obviously, we've had the awesome Bri and the magnificent Ollie joining me. And I guess look forward to our next podcast. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye. You guys can say bye as well if you'd like to.
Bye.
I give you that privilege.